I'll start with a disclaimer. All the lichens you will see were ethically gathered litterfall from disturbed sites. Okay. I initially became familiar with lichens through my studies in geology and ethnobotany, but it wasn't until 2012 that I saw their potential as a creative material. This is when I began sewing wigs out of litterfall lichens as a part of an attempt to develop an artistic methodology that would cause minimal harm to nature. Both of the wigs you see here are made of Usnea longissima that had fallen on the side of the road. And I was not satisfied with this way of displaying the wigs. So in 2018, I shot a stop motion video to show the lichens responding to being sprayed with water in order to accentuate the lichen's aliveness. I also made a wig out of Ramalina menziesi, which I shot in the same way. Then I did a simplified version where I just showed a close-up time-lapse video of the lichens on their own responding to being sprayed with water. The simplicity of these videos allows for a more nuanced way to visualize the lichen's materiality and the almost magical qualities that they embody as a relational organism that can withstand repeated desiccation events. Now, to avoid being nude while wearing the wigs, I created a series of lichen merkins, which then became a series of merkin plaques on the wall. And then in 2019, this evolved into lichen merkins and wigs as consumer products in a satirical eco-lifestyle boutique in the form of a gallery installation, which functioned as a critique of environmentally conscious product lines within a capitalist system. In early 2020, I found out that you can ferment certain lichens in stale urine to make dye. This video shows me attempting this method with Usnea, which ended up failing. However, my first urine lichen dye extraction experiment was with Auvernia prunastri, seen here, and it was a success. After 6 months, the resulting color was a delicate pink. I also gathered Windfall Labaria pulmonaria and made a muted orange dye. Then I took these dyed wool and created a series of weavings that represent a data set from February to June of 2020. The top Auvernia dyed pink weaving shows new daily COVID-19 cases. The middle Labaria dyed orange weaving shows my own personal anxiety data from that same period. And the bottom green weaving represents the amount of time I spent in nature each day and is dyed with comfrey and Pacific willow leaves. When I was finished using the Auvernia prunastri dye, I poured the leftover liquid into a cake mold and froze it, and then shot a time lapse showing it melting. Watching this disgusting yet pretty liquid melting on a dining table is a repulsive offense to the propriety and colonial culture that is usually associated with the events that serve jelly cakes. Another use for many litterfall lichen species is as a sculptural material. I am currently working on a series of Lichen Hands made by stuffing damp Ramalina or Usnea into a glove, and after they dry, I remove the glove, spray the hand with water, and capture it falling apart. Right now, I am attempting to make lichen cubes out of Usnea and Ramalina. I will leave these sculptures outside in the rain in the same locations or nearby where I collected the lichens and make time-lapse videos showing them fall apart back into their habitat as a way to comment on how our human efforts of development and technological advancement are fleeting and eventually everything returns back to the dirt. In the past, I have also returned fallen lichens to the tree canopy as symbolic gestures of reciprocity, a process that so far lacks scientific efficacy. And currently I live in Jordan River, BC, which is the territory of the indigenous Petix Nation. And here I'm hosting Usnea longissima covered branches in my yard that I saved from a road widening construction site. And I hope to hang them back up close to where their host tree was cut down, not only as a performative gesture of care, but in an attempt to help conserve that local population. And I'm also currently applying for an arts grant to develop a sound art project where I translate the patterns in morphology and chromatography tests of lichen specimens to create an artistic interpretation. I see the relationship between us and nature, or our ecosystems, as analogous to the relationship between the fungal component of a lichen and its algae or cyanobacteria. We are dependent on them, and we must maintain mutual symbiosis in order to survive and thrive. And that's it.
Great, thank you so much, Tasha. I hope you see that there's just so many positive comments in the chat for you.
Thank you. And yeah, I want to move forward in my artistic research, being more collaborative with lichenologists. And if anyone wants to collaborate or has ideas or is open to being someone I email and ask a question to, please reach out to me. And I'm gonna just put my contact for my website, the contact page for my website right there.
Thank you so much, Tasha. That was really amazing. You can check out the chat. There's a number of different, there's questions about where to follow your work, a little bit more about ethical harvesting, which I think is a really important point that you brought up, and just another great reason to continue to collaborate and form these relationships across different disciplines. So thank you for bringing this project to us, and thanks again. We're looking forward to learning more about your work.